Hey class, it's your boy Cam here for the CO 510 Speech and Thought class online with Dr. Abe, and this is my persuasive speech on why you should run a zone defense in a game of Ultimate Frisbee. Yes, I'm going back to Ultimate Frisbee. You know I love me some Ultimate, and I've already taught you in my other videos about how Ultimate is played. Now I'm going to look at why you should run a zone defense versus like a man-to-man where each man covers each offensive player and so forth. So let's get into it. So this is a typical outline of a zone. These circles are the offensive players, and these X's are the defenders who are running a zone. Now it starts here with the disc is going to start here in the middle with this guy, and this offensive team, remember, is going up to this end zone. So they're trying to advance the disc up the field to get in this end zone to score, whereas the X team, if they do get a turnover, they're going to come down this way. But for this demonstration, we're focusing on the defense, preventing this offense from moving the disc up to end zone number 2. It says 2 here. And so, first reason on why you should run a zone defense. Obviously, you want to create turnovers, but that's an understood thing. So the first reason you would run a zone defense is if there's windy or wet conditions, if the environment is tough. Because if it's windy, wet, if there's maybe even sleet, if you play in the snow, not familiar with that, but the disc, if it gets really wet, it's harder to hold, it's harder to catch, it's harder to throw, it can slip out of your hand. And if it's windy, it's harder to make really good trick throws and things that could really break a defensive down. So windy or wet conditions is a great time to run a zone. That's reason number 1. Number 2 is if you have on defense, if you have super long and athletic and quick guys, then you would love to run a zone defense because this right here, these 3 X's is what you call a cup. And they can really lock this guy down, especially if he can't throw over you or around you. And if he does get around you and gets it to this guy, you can move quickly and reset over here. Or if the disc even gets upfield a little bit, you've got guys that are fast, can go and can reset your defensive zone so that it doesn't stay broken and it can get back up to speed. The third reason of why you would run a zone is if you have smart players who can communicate really well and reset the defense really quickly, as I mentioned. So that way, if this cup does get broken somehow, if you've got guys that are smart, know how to play together, they can get back in position and they can get that defense back set up to keep preventing and keep trying to convince the offense to make some either dumb throws or just to make them turn the disc over. Now, reasons why you wouldn't run a zone. So these are the arguments of why you would not run a zone. If the other team has really good handlers, and remember, handlers are the guys and gals that primarily hold the disc and throw it and have really good throwing skills with the disc. 2 of the ways that are called trick shots or trick throws that are really hard to defend are when you throw over the defense, over the zone. So if this guy wants to throw over these guys to this guy or over to this guy, maybe if he kind of comes in a little bit. 2 of those throws that go over are called a scoober. One is where you're holding the disc like a forehand. You actually flip it over, you flick it forward, like you throw it forward. It's going to launch up and it's going to come down, so it can go up and over. A hammer can do the same thing where you take it like this and you throw it like kind of like a tennis serve, but you kind of throw it up like that and you flick it and it goes up and it goes over the defense. Some guys are really good handlers, some girls are really good handlers. They can throw those throws. If he can do that to this guy, this zone is thrashed. So if you know you're playing against good handlers, you may not want to run a zone against them. The other one is if they can throw through the defense, through the zone. So these would be handlers that are really good at faking. So for instance, if he has the disc, if he wants to fake it around this way to this guy, he could throw like a hard fake. This guy could bite out. If this guy bites out down here, now he can just throw a nice backhand around to this guy. And same thing, if he bites out this way, he might be able to throw a nice backhand to this guy. So guys that are good with fakes can get defenders to kind of get out of the way of those blocking lanes. And the third one would be if they can throw around the zone. So basically, if you can move the disc really quickly on offense, if you're playing an offense that's really efficient with the disc, so for instance, if he can move the disc here and then he can quickly move it here, and then he can say this guy comes here and you can quickly throw it here. If you can keep the disc moving quickly ahead of this defense, the zone is never going to be able to reset, and you're probably going to have a good chance of scoring. Now, ultimately what it comes down to is that if the other teams are, if you're capable of quick disc movement through good organization and purposeful and how you attack a zone. If you know you're playing a team that's good at doing that, you may not want to run a zone against them, and you might want to go back to man-on-man. So those are the reasons of why you would run a zone and the reasons of why you would not run a zone. A lot of it comes down to handling of the disc, if the offense is good at handling. But if they're not and they're questionable, your zone will probably work. It can create some turnovers, and you're going to get that disc, and you're going to go down and score, hopefully win the game. So that's it. That's all I got for you today on why you should run a defensive zone, Cam, and I'll see you guys later. Thanks.